we're modifying the TOPS legislation so that the legislature will have a lot more flexibility going forward and preserve TOPS for future generations. We're very excited and trust the legislature to do the right thing to make sure that TOPS is adequately funded for qualifying students in the future. We're very excited to have Senator Donahue and Senator Appel and the Taylor Foundation and business and higher education all support and speak with one voice.
If the bill passes as is, how would it be changed?
TOPS would then become part of the legislative session. They would have the flexibility to see what monies are available to meet the students' needs. They couldn't go below what they had last year, but they would be able to then, if funding was available, to meet all of the qualifying students' needs for TOPS.
And your reaction to what you've heard here today?
I think it's great unity. I think it's fantastic that business, the Taylor Foundation, higher education, and people in general are supportive of this measure. I think it will pass with a lot of enthusiasm.
Thank you all so much for joining us this morning as we stand together for a very important announcement concerning proposed legislation to TOPS. Of course, we're grateful to Senator Donahue, Senator Appel, along with Mrs. Taylor and Dr. Kaye for proposing such valuable changes to the TOPS program, which of course is what you'll hear about today. We're going to begin with remarks from the senators, followed by Mrs. Taylor. Regent Martin, who is the chair of the Board of Regents, will follow, along with Commissioner Rollo. Sawan Butte, who is the Executive Director of LASFA, will then come behind Commissioner Rollo. And the President of LABI, who is here with us, Stephen Wagaspak, will also follow. After which we're then going to move to a Q&A. We'll have a brief Q&A with the media. Also, there are press kits that are available outside of the door that contain the proposed legislation, so you, of course, can pick that up. Again, we ask that you hold all of your questions until the end, and we welcome you here with us this morning. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the authors of Senate Bill 48, Senator Donahue, followed by Senator Appel.
Thank you. Good morning. It's nice to be here with you today, and it's nice to announce Senate Bill 48. I'm very pleased to be able to work with the Taylor Foundation, specifically Dr. Kaye and Mrs. Taylor, in this piece of legislation, which was really authored by Dr. Kaye. The bill will allow qualified students to continue to receive the current level of tuition funding unless that level is increased by the future legislative action. By establishing a baseline tuition, future tuition increases will not be reflected in the state budget. By establishing a baseline tuition, future tuition increases will not be reflected in the state budget. This will allow the legislature to do a better job predicting the overall cost as well as the cost of TOPS. What is significant is that this bill recognizes the value of the TOPS program to the state of Louisiana and its students while protecting the state's budget and the university's ability to be able to manage tuition. So we're very pleased to be able to bring Senate Bill 48 to you today. Conrad?
Thank you very much. Good morning. I just left a meeting with a group of economists working for the Senate, and a particular statistic jumped out to me, and I wanted to share it with you all. Median household income in Louisiana ranks either the lowest or certainly very near the lowest in the South and in the country, frankly, despite the fact that we're one of the richest states in natural resources and assets. The only way to change that metric, the only way for Louisiana to move forward is through education, specifically higher education. And the only way for our kids to be able to get that type of education is with assistance of programs like TOPS. It's impossible for us to go into the 21st century without very high expectations, and TOPS lends that to the mix. If you work hard, if you study hard, you will become eligible for TOPS, and we will pay, as a state, for your tuition. The key and the main thing about this particular bill, in my mind, is that it preserves TOPS for the future. We all know that TOPS has been growing exponentially. It was a danger to the state budget over long periods of time. However, this bill gives us an opportunity to put the brakes on that, decouple it from some of the exponential growth, and ensure that TOPS will exist for future generations. And that's what's so important, and I do appreciate the opportunity to work with Senator Donahue and Mrs. Taylor and Dr. Kaye on this. This has been a great pleasure, and we look forward to the success of passage of this bill and the signature by the governor. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be here today to lend my support for this legislation. While we have long been aware that we have been making progress in our state in providing opportunity for all the children of our state, there is still much more to be done, and especially with children of need. We are still way behind the national average with college graduates. But more importantly, there is a critical need in Louisiana to increase the numbers of those qualified to do the jobs that are being created. This would make life more meaningful for all of those individuals. It would improve the economic conditions of our state, and it would help to fill those tax coffers that we need to increase services, like, for example, higher education. This legislation will give assurance to students and families that at least a set amount will be available for 4 years' tuition. That's assuming, of course, they meet the GPA and the ACT requirements, which are a very important factor that you need to keep in mind because they are a critical component of the TOPS program. It is that incentive that drives the students to perform in high school, and we have all seen the results that we have had in our high schools because of it. Remember, there is also a limitation of 4 years. That is another motivator for students once they reach higher education levels to complete their work in that time frame, thus saving them money and the state money. The other positive aspect of this legislation is that it will provide for the governor and the legislature a means to determine the definitive cost of the program in future years. Planning for the future is much easier when you know what the cost is at the bottom line. I picked up the battle flag for the TOPS program with the death of my husband, Pat Taylor. I have absolutely no intention of foregoing that battle at this time or any time. I understand now, but my husband understood long before many of us how critical this program is to the education of the youth of our nation. And it is for this reason that I will continue to urge that TOPS remain a vital component of the education system of Louisiana. Senate Bill 48 will have benefits for the TOPS going forward, and I urge everyone to be in support of it. Call your member of the legislature. Call everybody that you know to get the support. And I assure you that the Patrick F. Taylor Foundation will continue to monitor the program and to seek increases in those times when tuition is raised. It will be a benefit for the students and their families to know that these funds are available. After all, there is no better way to spend our tax dollars than on education. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Roy Martin, Chairman of the Board of Regents. I'd like to recognize my fellow Regent, Regent Richard Lipsey here, and Phyllis Taylor and the Taylor Foundation are real inspirations to all of us. You know, we take these non-paying government jobs because of her. And Regent Lipsey and I know what that all means. But we're proud to serve in the Board of Regents, and we have a great board. And last year, higher education, the administration, business, and the legislature crafted the WISE program to focus resources on badly needed STEM jobs. We met many times and ironed out our differences, producing a bill with one goal in mind. This piece of legislation passed nearly unanimously, and today it is meeting the needs of students, faculty, and business. We trusted each other, spoke with one voice, and accomplished our goal. This year, we can use the same approach to overcome our budget deficit. When we trust with each other and when we have unselfish devotion to promoting the optimal system of higher education, we can craft bills this session to support our systems. Since 2008, our completers in higher education are up over 24%. Graduation rates are up significantly, and full-time equivalent employees in all higher education systems are down 11.7%. We have 5% more enrollment using conservative figures for LCTCS, and even more enrollment using total numbers for LCTCS students. Higher education systems are focused on STEM graduates and are more efficient than ever before in delivering skilled completers for our ever-expanding workforce. It's time for every stakeholder to support this effort. That is why the Board of Regents is pleased to support this proposal by Senators Donahue and Appel. We believe this proposal is less restrictive, it's not a cap, maintains the original integrity and premise of the top scholarship program, rewarding scholars in our state for their academic achievement. In 2013 and 14, more than 48,000 students and families have taken advantage of this program, routing our scholars to Louisiana colleges and universities, where they belong. And more than likely, these students will remain in Louisiana and raise students here. We need to keep our children in Louisiana. And so that is why we are in support of this. I'd like to also recognize Rachel Kincaid for the UL system, Dr. Stuart Bell from the LSU system. Would y'all like to say a word in support of this, please? Not on the script, but that's the danger of giving me a microphone.
Well, thank you, Roy. And certainly the Taylor Opportunity Program for students has had such a huge impact on this state by affording families and children from Louisiana the opportunity to really be greater contributors to society, but also to chase their dreams of having a stronger career, a stronger profession, and stay right here in Louisiana. Regent Martin mentioned the idea of also keeping the best and the brightest in the state. We know for students who choose to study in a state, you have a much greater chance of holding on to those students after graduation. So again, another focus of this program is let's keep our best and brightest in the state of Louisiana. And through this legislation that's being proposed, we can ensure that this program is viable for generations of students to come. We have about 13,000 top students on the main campus, over 15,000 top students system-wide. What a great impact investing in our best and most important asset in this state, and that is our young people. We have got to invest in our young people for the long-term solution to our problems in Louisiana and to make Louisiana a greater state. We certainly support Phyllis Taylor and her endeavor to make sure that this great program is even greater in the future, in the Taylor Foundation, and also the legacy that Pat Taylor established in his dream to make the dreams of young people come alive in the state of Louisiana. We're so excited to be a part of this day, and again to support you, Phyllis, in this effort, and to support our senators and this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel, would you like?
And on behalf of the UL system, we just wanted to thank everyone today for all your leadership and your support. Over half of the TOPS recipients attend one of the 9 universities in the University of Louisiana system. And so this is really important for all of those students, and particularly the future and the stability for the TOPS program. I was very fortunate early on in my career to meet Mr. and Mrs. Taylor. I remember him very well, and the pilot for that started at the University of New Orleans, and it's such a pleasure to be able to watch the program and what a huge benefit it's been to the state. And thank you so much for your leadership and continuing this legacy for all the students of the state. And thank you, those senators, for drafting this bill to make sure everybody still has that opportunity. So thank you very much.
And I assure you, LCTCS and Southern Systems are very supportive of this as well. We're grateful to Senators Donahue and Appel, along with the Taylor Foundation, who is the brainchild, of course, of the TOPS program. Also, all of our partners in the legislature, system presidents, LOSFA,